Hello.
Hey, Vicky, we started the recording.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hello, everyone. I'm Meredith McGee, a member of the Learning Tree Book Club, and this is our regular monthly meeting. We read first Saturdays from 10 to 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time once a month. And we have several new readers with us today. So I'm going to start, and everybody else can just give a brief introduction and welcome the new readers. We want to welcome the regular readers. Okay, so I'm Meredith McGee, a member of the Learning Tree Book Club, and I'm in Jackson, Mississippi.
I'm Mary Hardy, Greenville, Mississippi, and I'm coming live today from the book gallery.
Fantastic. Anybody else can go next.
My name is Rachel, and I am in the first grade.
My name is Clarence Gong, and I'm in the 7th grade.
My name is Cherry Gong, and I'm in the 5th grade.
Hello, my name is Marilyn McCorkle. I'm a retired English teacher from Greenville, Mississippi. I've written 3 books, and I now live in Doraville, Georgia. And I'm just thankful to be a part of this meeting today as a guest.
Thank you for coming. No, not a guest, you're a member now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And Learning Tree Book Club member.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
She's muted.
You're muted? No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
I don't hear.
okay. I am unmuted now. So
Okay, you introduce yourself, Vicky?
yes,
Okay.
I'm Vicki Jenkins, Vice Chair of the Community Library, Mississippi. I am a co-host of the Learning Tree Book Club.
Hello, I am Janice Neal Vincent, and I'm in Madison, Mississippi. I enjoy Community Library, Mississippi.
Anybody else?
My name is Miss Millie. I live in Detroit, Michigan. I am Lynette Stafford's sister.
Well, thank you, Millie, because you've been with us before, right, in the summertime during the first part of the pandemic.
Yes, ma'am, a couple times, yes.
Yes, well, welcome back. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you can read something, and if not, you can ask questions of the other readers. Has everybody introduced themselves? Oh, Miriam, you and your sister introduce yourself, then you can start reading.
My name is Miriam. I am 9 years old and I am in 3rd grade.
My name is Selma Yusuf and I'm 6 years old. I am in pre-K.
Okay. Miriam, can you turn up your volume just a little bit, and then you could read and let us ask you questions, then you will let your sister read. I'm not sure who all put their name to read after that. But if you want to read after Marianne a third, just write your name in the chat to everyone, please. Okay, go ahead, Marianne. Oh, hold up the book when you get ready to read it so we can see it.
So today I'm going to be reading Llama Llama Loves to Read.
Okay.
Llama Llama learns at school counting, writing, reading rules. Friends in school, nothing better. Llama Llama learning all the letters. Letters make a special set that set is called the alphabet. Llama knows the first one, two, and first one, two, three. He can say them A, B, C. And then there's D, and next an E. And it goes on. It goes to X, Y, Z. No two letters are the same, but every letter has a name. It can be said, it can be heard. Letters together make a word. Llama Llama learning words. Some he's seen and some he's heard. Some he has to memorize with his brain and with his eyes. Llama Llama knows that one. He can read it. This is fun. Llama Llama writes his name and once again just the same. First L, then L, then A. What do all these letters say? Something to make a present of. Love. That spells love. Words make rhythm. Words make rhyme. Words make books for story time. Words tell truth. Words tell new things. Words make songs that we can sing. Words are the very best of presents. Words together make a sentence. Llama's hooves wave in the air. Some words are hard. It's just not fair. No need to frown, no need to pout. Just do your best and sound it out. No need for crying, moaning, bleeding. Llama, llama, hooray for reading. Teacher holds the walking sign. Now it's time to make a line. How does Llama Llama know? G and O spells go, go, go. Lots of sentences make a look. Strung together make a book. Look inside, oh what a glory. All those words have made a story. Llama Llama reads so many things, fairy princesses, pirate kings, shiny knights and dragon fights, under seas and up great heights. Back to class and off they go, filled with all the words they know. Skipping, hopping, walking line, Llama Llama sees a sign. And on that sign, what does he see? One S, one T, one O, one P. Llama Llama knows that word. Says stop. No more skipping, no more hops. Llama read the word out loud. Llama Llama feeling proud. School is over, the day is done. Llama had a lot of fun. Who can't wait to read to Mama? You are a reader, Llama Llama. Words have magic power indeed. What else could a person need? Llama Llama loves to read.
The end now? Huh? Yes. Mary, did you start to say something?
Meredith is on mute. You're on mute.
You need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Am I unmuted now?
You are, but Meredith is on mute.
Oh,
There you go.
Mary Ann, I had a question. I'm so sorry. I was trying to ask you how many times have you read that book? How many times have you? How many times have you?
What did you say?
How many times have you read your book? That book is.
I've read since I was small. Maybe when I was in my early 5s.
Okay. Okay. And so I really like that book because your character
Me too.
went to the library. They like to read and they like ice cream. Anybody else want to ask Marianne any question
I'd
about her?
like to ask her a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, Marianne, how many Llama Llama books do you have? How many, how many have you read so far?
Like
Say
about
five.
three at home.
How many did you say you read?
3.
Oh, I like reading those books to my grandson. That's why I like Llama Llama. So I enjoyed listening to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Very good.
Very
So,
good.
Marianne, is your sister ready to read? And let her tell us her name and hold up the book that she's reading.
And then introduce the book.
My name is Selma.
Hello.
Hi, Lynette.
I'm going to read Clifford the Big Red Squirrel. One crisp fall afternoon, Emily Elizabeth hopped down from the school bus. She raced to the backyard where her best friend Clifford the big red dog. He waited for her. Hi, Emily. Clifford greeted her. How was school today? It's great, Emily. Elizabeth told him. We did so many fun things. We had circle time in the morning. Emily Elizabeth said, we paint pictures and art and play. Market and music. And at snack time we had fur cups. Clifford must be a little too big for classroom. Suddenly, Emily Elizabeth's eyes lit up. What we need is a school that's just right your size. We shall make your you a big red school right here the in the yard. Emily Elizabeth Circle cried. Woof! Woof! Clover barked and agreed Miss. That's a great idea. Emily, Elizabeth, and Clover got to work. They used big bin bags for chairs and borrowed a chalkboard from the garage. Emily Elizabeth carried down books from her bedroom, and they found oversized art supplies in the closet. Then Clifford, doggies, Pow, Pow, Bailey, and Ducker passed by. Hiya, Clifford. They called over the fence. What ya doing? I'm going to school, Clifford explained. Cool, said Billy. Can we come too? Of course, Clifford said. We're just about to start big circles time. Let's go around the circle and share our favorite things, Emily Elizabeth said. I like best friend kisses. Grover gave Emily Elizabeth a great big lick. And just remember something Emily Elizabeth told Clifford and his friends. She hurried to ask her dad if she could borrow his camera. You can have a first day of school with pictures, without pictures. Next was story time. This 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 is all about three little pups who take an exciting boat ride. Emily Elizabeth read aloud, out loud. Wolf. Clifford eyes grew wide. He loved listening to stories, especially dog adventures.
Was that the end?
No,
Oh, you still reading? Okay, go ahead.
okay. For art time, Clifford and his friends dipped their paws in brightly colored paints. Billy chose green. Tucker chose yellow. And of course, Clifford chose red. They made surprise super messy pop paw painting. One, once their paints were dry, Emily Elizabeth tapped them brown large can full with beans. What are we doing to do with these? Clover asked her.
You still reading? You still reading?
Yes,
Mary, Marianne, is she still reading?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
The only thing better than art time is music time. Emily Elizabeth said, today we are going to use records to put on a show. Neat, Clifford barked. I love keep the beat. Then Clifford Tommy grumbled. Did you say that school had snack time? He asked Emily Elizabeth. I sure did, Emily Elizabeth whispered. Come on in, guys. Emily Elizabeth, friend Sam, and Jack and Papa came into the yard carrying trays piled, piled with apples, cherries, and strawberries milkshake. Barely gobbled up the apples. Treats. Tucker slurped his milkshake. Clover bounced cherries off his nose and into his mouth. As his first day of school came to a close, Clifford watched his friends head home. This was so much fun, he told Emily Elizabeth. Thank you, Emily Elizabeth. Hugged Clifford and snapped one final photo with our friends for next week. When Emily Elizabeth come home from school, Clover was waiting for her. Hey, Emily Elizabeth, he said, you ready to play Big Red Squirrel? Exactly. Actually, his friends replied, I have something to show you first.
Okay, we're gonna take a let you stop here so we can let some of the other people read. But thank you for reading, and you're reading real good to be 6 years old. Can you tell us one thing that you like about Clifford?
That he had a big red
Well, that's nice. Well, thank you. Okay, so if we have time at the end, we'll let you finish the book after we let everybody else take their 5-minute turn. Who's reading next? Tara, or one of you all reading next?
I could read first.
Okay, go ahead, Clarence.
The title of the book I wanted to read was Moses' Dried Feet. The Pharaoh's men were gaining ground. Their sleek chariots were rolling so fast behind the horses, behind the horses strong, eyes wheeled and the nostrils foaming. God's people saw the chariots, the horsemen, and the army. The shields and spears shone in the sun. It started such an outcry. They're gaining on us, was the shout. We stumbled as we hurried through the sand that slowed our footsore steps. God's followers were worried. We moved so slow, uncounted throng, with sheep and goats and cattle. And now the Red Sea in our path may force us to do battle. God's people were terrified. They wept and moaned and shouted, we cannot stand against their might. On horses they are mounted. They'll capture us and drag us back. With whips and chains they'll beat us. We'll work from dawn past setting sun. Oh God, will they defeat us? Oh God, I prayed. You brought us here away from our opposition. You've been our strength, our faith in you. We claim your love, attention. You've listened, you've led us with your cloud by day. Night's darkness, you have broken by fiery pillar guiding us. Your love for us you've spoken. The Lord then spoke to me and said that we should never worry. He would fight the fight for us, and in that way gain glory. The Lord said, stop your questions now and tell folks to quit moaning. So forward march, pick up those feet and get those people going. God moved the cloud from front to back between our camp and Pharaoh's. The blackest night surrounded them, but on our side bright light glowed. stretched my hand toward the sun, a miracle was coming. The sun was split by God's east wind. The path was dry by morning. Between the high and watery walls, we crossed the Red Sea bottom. When Pharaoh's armies tried the same, the walls collapsed and drowned them. We stood astounded on the shore, then thrilled to God's great mercy. We shouted, prayed, and sang our songs of praise to God in glory. Then Mariam, with the tremble bright, led ladies in their dancing. They spun and twirled and leaped and whirled. The picture was entrancing. So pray to God, He'll hear your prayers and help when you're in need. Remember what He did for us and follow where He leads. The end.
Okay, thanks, Clarence.
I'll read that.
Okay. Harry's gonna read next.
The name of my story is King Solomon. The name of my story is King Solomon. The great Bible story is King Solomon. King David taught his young son Solomon always to walk in the ways of the Lord. When Solomon was a very young man, he became king of Israel. But Solomon was afraid he didn't know how to rule well over his people. So of all the gifts that God could give him, Solomon asks only for wisdom. Solomon was asking for wisdom, pleased God, and he made the young king rich and powerful as well. Solomon ruled with justice and fairness, and the people of Israel trusted him and relied on his judgment. Word of Solomon's word and wisdom spread all over the world. People came from everywhere to see him and seek his advent. One day, two women came rushing into the court. One carried a baby. The woman stood before King Solomon. Each claimed the baby was hers. There was no witness who knew the truth. The entire court was puzzled. At last, Solomon ordered, "Bring me a sword." "Cut the baby in half," said Solomon. "Then each of them can have part of him." One woman agreed, but the other fell on her knees, crying, "Don't kill my baby," she pleaded. "Better that she may have him and he lives." "That is the true mother," said Solomon. "Give her the child." Soon Solomon began his greatest task, building God's temple in Jerusalem. The finest materials and the greatest craftsmen in the world were brought to the temple. It took 7 years to complete the work of the temple. Many of its walls were covered in gold. Great pillars and statues supported and adored the magnificent building. Now all the people could come to worship God in the holy tab the holy tabernacle building. The temple made Solomon even more famous and respected. In a faraway land, another monarch was curious about the great king of Israel. She was queen of Sheba. With all of her court and followers, she journeyed to meet Solomon in Jerusalem. The queen didn't believe all she had heard about this king. She wanted to see and hear for himself. Solomon welcomed the beautiful queen and thanked her for her fine gifts. The queen listened carefully as Solomon made his judgments. She marveled at the magnificence of his temple. You are the wisest man and greatest king in the world, Solomon, she declared. Then she returned to her land with the riches the king gave her. Solomon ruled Israel for 40 years. He left a country rich, strong, and at peace. That's the end.
Thank you both for reading.
Okay.
And Cherish, are you reading next? And then we'll ask all three of you questions when you get through, since we didn't get to ask Clarence anything after he read. Is Cherish ready?
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Okay.
So I'm reading about Jonah and the well. One day, God spoke to a man named Jonah. He said, Jonah, I want you to go to a place called Nineveh and talk to the people there for me. They are doing very bad things, and I am not happy about this. I want you to tell them they must change and stop doing these awful things. But Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh, so he did not obey God. Instead, he bought a ticket and went on a ship out into the sea. But God knew where Jonah was, and he sent a terrible storm. Everyone on the ship was afraid. They were all asking, why is this happening? Then Jonah said, it's my fault. I didn't obey God. If you throw me overboard, then you will all be safe. So they did throw him overboard. And guess what? The storm stopped. Soon, a very big fish came along and swallowed Jonah. He stayed in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah began to pray and tell God he was sorry. He did not obey him. He asked God to please save him. Then an amazing thing happened. God made that big fish throw Jonah right up onto the beach. Then God said, now Jonah, I want you to go to Nineveh and tell the people what I have said. Jonah was ready to obey God. He went to Nineveh and told the people God wanted them to stop doing bad things. And they did stop, and God forgave them. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you. So we'll start with you, Cherish. Tell us one thing about your character that you thought was important, and then Harry, and then Clarence. Tell us something about your character, then we'll move to the next reading.
So the main character in this story was Jonah, and God. So the thing that happened was that Jonah didn't obey God and his rules. And so Jonah had to pay the consequences, and he had to be thrown overboard and swallowed by a whale or a big fish. But then when he decided to pray, God forgave him, and then the fish put him on a beach, and he went and told the word that God told him to tell to all the other people, so that they wouldn't be doing bad things and sinning, and they wouldn't be having to deal with the consequences that Jonah did.
Very good. Okay, Harry, tell us one thing about the character that you read and the character you read about.
The character of my story is King Solomon, and he asked for wisdom from God, and he achieved wisdom, and he helped many people.
Very good. I remember the story about the cutting the baby in half when I was in Sunday school years ago. Okay, so Clarence, tell us something about your character and who your character was.
The main character for mine was Moses, and even though God, it seemed like they were gonna have to fight the pharaohs so that they don't get caught or they'll have to give up. He didn't give up hope, and then God gave him the power to part the sea and lead his people.
Okay, very good.
But they didn't make it to the promised land.
That's true. All right. Okay, so we have two new readers with us, and I wanted to see if they wanted to read. One is Rhonda Coleman, and she was in the poetry contest, and she won first place in the adult category. And Cherish won first place in the elementary category. But Miss McCorker and Rhonda, either one of you could read if you want to. And we have 5 minutes, and then the rest of us will read after you guys.
Okay. I'll go on and start with mine. I'll start with my book. I'm just going to share one of the chapters that I really liked from it. And as I said, the name of my book is Drawing Near by Minister John Bevere. He's an international speaker and writer, and best-selling writer also. Okay, the chapter that I'm reading from is called The Reward. It says, I have visited some of the most beautiful places in the world and seen homes and buildings beyond compare in luxury that mean nothing to me because they are void of the presence of God. I have been in unpleasant places as well, such as prisons, third world nations, and in homes filled with little to be desired, yet full of God's presence. I can honestly say I'd rather be in those hard, uncomfortable places where God's Spirit dwells than in mansions filled with treasures, yet void of His presence. I was privileged to play NCAA tennis, the USTA circuit, Junior Davis Cup matches, and win our state title. I achieved scholastic awards and social status with the respect of my peers, leaders, and business executives. I dated beautiful and popular girls. These all represent what most people not only desire, but pursue wholeheartedly. In truth, the glory and pleasure of all these combined could never remotely touch just 30 seconds in God's presence. The comparison is impossible. Hear how scripture describes Moses. By faith, Moses, when he became of age, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the passing pleasures of sin. esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he looked to the reward. That's from Hebrews 11:24-27. Notice he chose to suffer affliction. His was in a different position from the children of Israel. They had no choice, yet they complained and he did not. Of his own free will, he left behind the finest the world could offer, as well as the highest status a person could achieve. Why? He sought another reward. His reward wasn't the promised land, but the promise of his presence. After just one encounter at the bush, all he wanted from that point on was to know God intimately. I preached to thousands in conferences and churches, ministered to millions by television and books. God has blessed us in ways that have blown my mind. Yet if I had to choose without hesitation, I'd trade the apparent success he's given for his manifest presence. There is nothing like it. To sense his nearness and hear his voice whisper things I have never known to my heart is far greater than preaching to multitudes and book sales in the millions. The glory of his presence is much greater than anything. My heart breaks when I watch ministers pursue success, believing that is where they will find satisfaction. To be esteemed and recognized by others is their unspoken goal. I've watched those who seek their significance and fulfillment through ministerial accomplishments fall into despair and eventually the snares of darkness. They build huge ministries and then end up in immorality or ensnared in covetousness before they realize how empty it all is. I've witnessed even greater numbers who never experienced the success of others, yet met their same tragic end. They were discouraged because they could never build a church above 200, 500, 1,000, 5,000, or some other targeted goal their hearts were set on. Their book sales never reached their expected goals, and they were not invited to the, quote, big conferences where they wanted to speak. They sought fulfillment where it was not to be found. This is no different than those who pursue status and accomplishment in the secular market. These believers miss out on what they were truly created for. In contrast, I've met men and women with large ministries who have experienced success, yet their hearts yearn for more of God. They've shared how they would gladly give it all up and serve another ministry or do something else if that was God's desire. Most never sought the position they now hold so loosely. They confess they know God placed them there and all they want to do is please him. I've heard their heart cry in our conversation and observed it in their actions. They are not unlike David, who experienced great success, yet called himself a poor and needy man. I've also met those with small ministries in comparison, yet they walk in peace and blessing because they know they've done what they were called to do. Their passion is not in numbers or outward success, but rather to know God more intimately and to walk in his manifest presence.
Miss McCormick. Miss McCormick.
Did you call me?
Yes, I was trying to see, could you come to a stopping point?
This is my stopping point here. This is my stopping point.
Okay, and that's interesting that two people read about the Moses, the character Moses today, who was not a fictional character, was a real character.
Right.
A biblical character. So give us one point about what you read.
The main thing that struck me when I read this chapter, which was, I think, chapter 2 in this book, the main thing that struck me was how this the writer shared how successful he had been in life, how God had blessed him before he started being a minister, how successful he was at playing tennis and achieving a high social status. But he said none of that meant anything to him. None of that was as important to him as being in the presence of God. So that really struck a chord in my heart, because I could tell by just reading his writing that being in the presence of God is really it's a number one thing that he thinks all believers, all God's children should strive to go after, should strive after. It's just to spend time in the intimate presence of God.
Okay, very good. Um, Rhonda, do you plan to read? And I saw that Michelle was here. I'm not sure if you wanted to read.
Yes, ma'am.
You okay? Okay, so Michelle, you can go. Okay, Rhonda, you go. Michelle, you go after Rhonda, and we have Rhonda. Can you read 4 pages since that for the sake of time, so we can let some more people read?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good afternoon to y'all. I'm
Good
grateful to
afternoon.
be on here with y'all and allow me to come into your book club. But I had the privilege to go by the Meredith store to visit, and I picked up me a few books, and I could not wait to get my hands on Miss Nashida's book in one of her tours. So I chose this book. Nashida goes to the Smith Robinson Museum. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And many of y'all probably have heard it, but I can read it over and over again, probably find something new that I didn't know about. Okay, Nashida visits the Smith Robinson Museum by Meredith Coleman McGee.
Okay.
All right. Hello, beautiful girls, handsome boys, and all readers and learners. My name is Nashida. I live in Jackson, Mississippi. I am in the second grade. My name means student. Grandma Nana named me. Mom and Dad said I will be learning something new every day for the rest of my life. After I watched the movie Selma, I was surprised about our history. My parents told me they were going to teach me something about my culture and country every Saturday. Mom and Daddy showed me a lot of pictures. Today is Friday. We are going to the Smith Robinson Museum in the morning. This is her in the picture. Mama read me a Bible story about a lady named Ruth. I like a good story. Ruth loved her mother-in-law, Naomi. Ruth worked hard. The king was Boaz. He fell in love with Ruth and married her. The story had a happy ending. Mama tucked me into bed. See you in the morning. Night night. Can I keep going? 2 more. Okay. Good morning, readers and learners. We had a good breakfast at Grandma Nana and Grandpa Joe's house. Grandma made cheesy grits, scrambled eggs, sausage, and toast. Grandma is the boss of the kitchen. When we go to her house, we have to wash and dry the dishes. I help Grandpa put the dishes up. Now we are headed to the museum. We're here at the Smith Robinson Museum. It was named after Smith Robinson. He started the first public school for African American children in Jackson in 1894. African American students attended the school until 1971, when the state of Mississippi obeyed the 1954 Brown versus Education U.S. Supreme Court public school desegregation law. The law allowed children of different races to attend school together. You want me to stop right here,
Yeah, but anyway, so tell us what did you like about that particular book, Nashida visits the Smith Robinson Museum?
I like that she actually touched on a lot of history and local history and events that had taken place, and she kind of gave you the feel that you were actually there. She would describe different artifacts that she saw, and she would say if area was dark, or she would give a descriptive view of what she was experiencing, which would make your mind, go off into kind of engage in what she was experiencing. And she kind of gave details about every little thing that she saw, and she would give the history on that particular thing. But she just shows eagerness to learn and to educate people as she go, not just to keep it to herself. She wanted people to know what history, what her town actually, the history that her town actually has, and that it is so much to learn in just that one building. Is so much history about just different people. And so it's just the fact of her going in, explaining things, and kind of giving you a visual of what she was seeing, and giving you the background on it.
Well, thank you. I'm just so honored that you. And by the way, if you don't know, that's my children's book character, Nashida, and that's the volume 1. That's the first book of 3 books in the series that I named after my grandfather, Moses Meredith. But anyway, thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
You're
And,
so welcome. I can't wait to get the other volumes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. So, Michelle, you can read 3 pages as well. Because we have about 20 minutes. Hold your book up for us, Michelle.
I will read this book, Miss Bettina's House, by Hazel D. Campbell. Campbell. Yeah. Yes. It's here. Chapter 1. What's going to happen to us? The animals stood quietly on the veranda and beside the driveway. They watched the men lift Miss Bettina into the back of the yellow van. She waved weakly to them as the men locked the doors. They continued staring as the van drove away. They wondered where Miss Bettina was going. She had never left them like this before. Somehow they knew she was not coming back. Mr. Kelly, her neighbor, locked the front door of the house. He looked at the animals, shook his head, and put the keys in his pocket. Then he got in his car and drove down the long driveway and through the huge iron gates. He stopped, closed the gate, then drove away to his home on the other side of the hill. Long after the van had gone, the animals had remained where Miss Bettina had left them. From time to time, dog howled mournfully as if asking, "She gone? She gone? She really gone?" Cow lowed softly and nuzzled her calf. Goat bayed, "We on we own now, we on we own." Donkey stood with a sad, patient expression on his face. Every now and then he made a feeble attempt to breathe. Every now and then one of them would sigh, "What we going to do now? What going to happen to we?" Only Cat was silent. She sat on the veranda licking her fur with a superior air. After all, she was the only one there who did not need humans to feed her or look after her. She could take care of herself. She was an aristocratic cat with a long pedigree. She had papers to prove that she came from a long line of special cats. Miss Bettina loved cat because she was really very beautiful and because she was a gift from her nephew in England. He had sent Cat to keep her company when she retired from teaching. Cat quickly became the queen of the little house of pets. Every day she did nothing but lie on the couch, licking her dusty gray coat to keep it clean and fluffy. At first, Miss Bettina gave her only the best of cat foods from a tin and milk. But as Miss Bettina began to get older and doddering, she often forgot to feed her pets. So Cat had to learn to find her own food. Cat never forgot that first morning when Miss Bettina did not put down her own bowl of milk or open a tin of liver from her for her breakfast. Tea. Miss Bettina didn't fix any lunch or dinner that day either. Just tea and biscuits for herself. By supper time, Cat was very hungry. She rubbed herself against Miss Bettina's foot and meowed loudly. But Miss Bettina only smiled and patted her gently. Dear, what? Dear, what? Dear, she said, you are full. Look how much lunch you ate. You're getting too greedy. You'll soon be too fat to walk. Run along and allow me to enjoy my tea, please.
Okay,
Meow.
Michelle, can you come to a stopping point for us so we can ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so thank you for reading. And also I wanted to ask you, could you tell us something important to you about your character, which is a cat?
Um. Um.
What's the question?
So something important about the cat.
It came from England, from
It came from England, from a nephew.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very good. That's very good, and thank you. And you've been reading more books since January, haven't you?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so who's reading next? We have time for maybe four more readers, but we have to read about 3 or 4 pages.
I want to read because I'm going to have to go and attend another Zoom. But
Okay.
this book is by, pardon?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. This book is by Chelsea Clinton. You may be familiar with it, but in it, she talks about 13 women and their determination to make it with whatever they were doing. It's called Persisted. Persisted, she persisted around the world. So there are 3 that I want to get in, but I might only be able to do 2. As the first woman in East and Central Africa to earn a doctorate degree and become a professor at the University of Nairobi, Wangari Maathai made 2 of her dreams come true. Still, she wanted to do more. Horrified by how many trees had been cut down across Kenya, Wangari started to plant trees. She persisted in getting family, friends, students, and even strangers to help plant more trees and to respect the environment. She also worked hard to protect and defend the rights of everyone in Kenya. Wangari was the first African woman awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Her legacy includes the more than 50 million trees her Green Belt movement has planted. I don't really know why I care so much. I just have something inside me that tells me that there is a problem and I have got to do something about it. Wayne Garrier. As a little girl in the United Kingdom, Joanne Rowling knew she wanted to be a writer. After university, she spent years creating the Harry Potter world, while also working full time. Even though many publishers rejected her first book, she persisted. The publisher she finally found worried that boy readers might not want to read a book featuring a boy wizard written by a woman and asked Joanne to publish as J.K. It sounded less female. Today, the Harry Potter series is the best-selling book series in history, with more than 400 million books in print in 80 languages. And its author is famous as the woman who brought more magic into the world. We do not need magic to transform our world. We carry all the power we need inside ourselves already. Joanne Rowling. Do I have time to read one more? Civil War erupted.
Yeah, go ahead and read another one. You can read another one.
Civil war erupted in Liberia when Lima Jibowi had just finished high school. Living through the war inspired Lima to become a trauma counselor to help other children affected by conflict. When civil war broke out again years later, Lima knew she didn't want to simply live through it this time or help the victims afterward. She wanted to help end it. She persisted, bringing together thousands of Liberian Christian and Muslim women to peacefully protest the violence. Their efforts helped end the war and led to safe, free elections in which Liberia elected its first woman president. For her work, Lima was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. The more I did, the more I could. The more I wanted to do, the more I saw needed to be done.
Now, where she was from?
Liberia. Lima Jibowi.
And what did she do?
Those are three of the 13 women in Chelsea Clinton's book, She Persisted, around the world.
Well, that's very nice that she picked a group of very diverse women, and then this is Women History Month, so that's very good that you read to us about 3 women this month. Does anyone have any questions of Janice Neal Vincent?
Thank you for the listening.
Okay, thank you. Vicky, did you want to read a couple of pages of your whatever you were reading?
No, not today. I'll leave John Grisham alone today.
I heard that. What did everybody else get to read? I think it's me and Mary left, but I wanted to read just the forward of about Maya Angelou. I'm sorry,
Angela Davis.
Angela Davis. Yeah.
Angela Davis in honor of Women's History Month. And this is Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Ferguson, Palestine, and the Foundations of a Movement. And this is one of the books in my stack that I want to read. I haven't really cracked it open, I just I wanted to read since it was Women's History Week. I picked one of the books in my pile. Okay, this is the forward by Cornel West. Angela Davis is one of the few great long distance intellectual freedom fighters in the world. From the revolutionary mass movements of the 1960s to the insurgent social movement in our day, Angela Davis has remained steadfast in her focus on the wretched of the earth. In stark contrast to most leftists in the academy, her structural analysis and courageous prism has come at a tremendous cost in her life and a courageous and for her well-being. As a new assistant professor of philosophy, she was demonized by Governor Ronald Reagan in California. University of California Board of Regents stripped her of her academic position owing to her membership in the Communist Party. She was put at the top of the FBI's most wanted list, on the run from the police forces of the U.S. empire, and incarcerated after her capture. Her grace and dignity during the historic court trial electrified the world, and her determination to remain true to her revolutionary vocation in the intense international spotlight has been an inspiration. So I won't read all of it, but I'm looking forward to reading about my sister Angela Davis. So if anyone has any questions about what I just read, feel free.
Meredith, I have a question. Is this a biography? Is it a
Oh
biography?
no, uh, this is a book that she wrote. Before it was written by Cornel West, and I guess what he wanted to do was introduce her history before he gave information about what she wrote about.
Okay, so it's an autobiography. She wrote it herself, is it? Or Cornel
No,
West wrote it?
no. This is a nonfiction book. Freedom is a constant struggle. She wrote about Ferguson, Palestine, and the foundations of a movement.
Okay.
Yeah, she's written a lot of nonfiction uh, books. Actually, I would love to read a biography or autobiography, but I've never about a biography on her yet.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay. So Mary, did you have something to read? And you would be the last reader today. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Okay.
I think this part, there's no author. It was published by University Press. So I want the children to listen. I want the adults, but I also want the children to hear this part. It's chapter 3, and it's political activism and college years. This is Kamala Harris. When she was just 13 years old and still living with her mother in Montreal, Kamala lived in an apartment where children were not allowed to play out on the front lawn. Both Kamala and Maya led a demonstration to fight against this rule, as there really was not anywhere better for children in the apartment to play. They were successful in their fight, and the ban on children's play was successfully eliminated. This was the start of her long political career. By the time she finished high school, Harris was back in California. She opted to go to one of the historical Black colleges, Howard University. This meant moving to Washington, D.C. to attend class. She chose to pursue degrees in both economics, like her father, and political science. During her time at the university, she joined a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha. She earned her degree in 1986, but decided to pursue law. She then moved to San Francisco to attend law school at UC Hastings College of the Law. She returned to living with her mother, sister, and young niece. She has recounted how she attended school where the environment was tough because people were mainly competing with each other. And I'm going to stop there.
Okay, very good, very good. And thank you for the correction, teacher. Kamala, is it Kamala? I keep saying Kamala. It's Kamala?
Kamala, I say Kamala.
Kamala, Kamala, yeah.
But it's
Kamala.
Kamala.
Oh, Lord.
Kamala,
Okay.
Kamala, okay.
It's not Kamala, it's Kamala.
Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
What'd you
Pardon
say?
me?
What is it? It's Kamala or Kamala?
It's the R sound, Kamala.
Kamala.
Okay.
Kamala.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's good to have teachers around. Okay, so I want to just mention that the community library updated our picture dictionary, and we included at first we just was the presidents in it. We included the vice president, and the only picture of a vice president that we have is Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
So I thought, oh wow, that was cool. We had two people to read about Moses today, and we had her to talk about a Kamala Harris. There were just so many great stories. It is always a joy to hear all of the readers, and we'll see you guys again on the first Saturday of the month, next Saturday. And anybody else can give their final thought or say something about what they learned today before we end the recording.
I learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to learning much more.
I'm here.
Hola.
Okay, well, we want to thank the new readers who came today, LaRonda and Miss McCorvin, and we would like to tell you
Marilyn. You can call me Marilyn.
Okay, Marilyn, and we would like to let you know that you are now members of the Learning Tree Book Club.
Oh,
We
great.
have claimed you.
Great.
Okay, well, you guys, this recording is going to be placed on YouTube. It's already live on Facebook, and it's live on Zoom. Thank you for coming. Happy reading. Y'all have a great Saturday.
You too.
Have a great day.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.